What happened? Gosh. All right, take two. What are you doing, lads? What y'all doing down there in England? What are y'all doing down there in England, boys? All right, I reacted to the highlights from this game. I put it up on Patreon. It won't fly here on YouTube. UEFA has destroyed my channel before. I'm not trying to get on their bad side. But we all know what happened. England were humiliated by Greece at Wembley. I don't think there's any chance that Carsley ends up getting the job now after this. And so I don't know. See, if you're new to this channel, you might be expecting some expert punditry on my behalf. I am not by any stretch of the imagination a professional sports pundit. I only became a fan of this game just about 2 years ago. And so I'm very novice in my opinions, very surface level in my opinions. And so in today's video, I'm actually really interested to learn tactically how this happened. Guys, it could have been much worse. It could have been much worse. So many goals were disallowed. And you guys, what are you doing, lads? I'm sorry for the terrible accent. I'm just having fun. Let's get into this. Not like my national team is doing much better. Okay? So, we're in this together. We're in this together, boys.
Yeah, that was awful. All right, so yes, hello there, everybody. Adam Cleary from 442, and as you may be aware, England played Greece at Wembley and got beat. And I'm just going to try and get straight into it because I've seen loads of confusion about the system and about the formation, what they were trying to do and how they were lining up. And
this is what I'm interested in. In fact, let me go back here. I'm interested in seeing this.
Of confusion.
Because I did notice in the highlights I didn't see Kane out there. So I don't know if there was
the system.
I don't know if there was some reason behind that, but I didn't notice Kane. And so this is showing Foden playing that striker. Okay, so it's Saka. I heard Saka got injured. Much love to him. Hope he gets better. In fact, every time I've watched this England team play, I'm not an anti-English fan. I actually root for England significantly whenever I'm watching them play, even though they play the most boring, putrid brand of football I've ever seen. I always kind of root for them to do well. Every time I watch them play, Saka is the one who jumps off the screen to me like he's the best on the field, besides Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer may be the best player in England right now. That's for sure. So they had Bellingham, Palmer, Foden, Saka, Gordon. All right, so they got their dogs out there. This is a great lineup on paper. Some good players out here, especially in this attacking range. They've got all of their attacking players out here. Okay.
And about the formation, what they were trying to do and how they were lining up. And I would just like to say, I was there. This is literally I couldn't possibly have had a better view,
it's a good view
of the shape and what they were trying to do. So I'll try and take you through it. So fundamentally, this was England. And I know it looks a little bit weird and some of it might not make sense, but just bear with me, right? You've got two fullbacks in Lewis and Trent Alexander-Arnold who are quite interior, quite advanced. They're sort of in that middle line with Declan Rice. You've got two roving eights who moved about a lot and had different jobs to do in Bellingham and Palmer. Gordon and Saka, they then provided the width to try and stretch Greece out. And then Foden, England's least used toy in the box, was nominally the centre forward. Actually, one thing it's
interesting because I've been saying for a while that no matter how much I respect Harry Kane as a player and how much I actually like him as a person, he's just been a problem with England. He's like a statue. He doesn't move fast enough. His positioning is bad. And he just I don't know, it just kind of sticks out whenever you're watching them play. Everything seems to like clog up there with Kane. And I say that with utmost respect for him as a player. I do think he's a very, very good player. But I've been kind of ready for Kane to be moved on from in the national team. And I'm not even an English fan. I'm just, as I watch it, I'm like, it looks a lot better when they have someone like Watkins on in his place, or they have someone who can really stretch the defense. And I don't know. So I like that lineup there with Foden there as the replacement.
Very important to say as early as possible in this video is that yes, England were a disaster. We will get to exactly why, but Greece deserve so much credit for that performance. They turned up hungry.
So I don't know who George Baldock was, but I do know from experience that when a member of your team or somebody, I don't even know if he's a teammate or if he was just somebody important to the nation, dies, there is a rallying cry. I remember that. I remember playing, we had one of the moms of a player on my team in high school had breast cancer and was not doing well at all. And there was this like rallying cry from the whole team. It's like we played our best game because we knew that our teammate was really, really struggling with that news. And so that kind of thing, someone losing a family member, losing a teammate, that can be a rallying cry for a team. So that kind of puts into a little bit of perspective the performance that we saw from Greece here.
They turned up determined. Given what's happened to them, like they had a real fire in them.
I don't know the story. You guys let me know in the
tonight,
comments.
and their
I don't
game
know anything
plan was
about
absolutely
this.
perfect. Their execution was excellent, and I think a degree of the energy going into lashing England for that
makes sense.
Should be put aside and given to praising this Greece team. But that being said, I did check the analytics before I did this video, and our audience from Greece is like less than 0.1%, and our audience from England is pretty much all of it. So that's what we'll be discussing. But the reason there was...
I mean, okay, sorry to pause the video to give a brief YouTube algorithm update. Oh, and he doesn't need my help, obviously. He has a massive channel. But for instance, my analytics say that most of my viewership is from the UK or from the United States. But if I make a video, for instance, I made a string of videos on cricket. When I made those cricket videos, I had like 50% of my audience came from India. So if you make a video about Greece's team humiliated England, you're going to get Greek viewers. You're going to get Greek viewers here. So the analytics don't mean those are only the people who will only watch your video. If you title it correctly, humiliated by Greek, you're going to get Greek viewers. All right, sorry for the YouTube algorithm discussion. That has nothing to do with this video. If you're still on this video, I'm sure this is killing my analytics right now the longer I talk about it. Smash like.
There's a lot of confusion around this system and around this formation is because we're used to thinking of players in roles. That is a right back. That is a left winger. That is a forward. That's not what England were trying to do, right? The way you have to look at this system is you've got 5 players here who were involved in the build-up and ball progression, and 5 players here who were involved in chance creation and ideally scoring goals.
Gotcha.
And the idea is for these 5 players in particular, but then supported by these 3,
So
that
you've
from
got,
this starting
you've basically got two shapes that are overtaking your tactics.
shape, you interchange, you rotate, you move, you create space, you fill space, you have a flexibility to your system that means that this starting shape is very rarely whatever actually happens. And
sounds very
thus,
modern.
This whole controversy about not having a proper centre forward isn't really an issue because this kind of football comes very much from the school of thought of positions are for nerds. You don't need a centre forward because everyone's the centre forward. Like these are England's average positions across that 90 minutes. And you can see that sort of 5 and 5 structure quite neatly sort of organised. Like
Very loose, very free, very anti-Southgate, might I say. I don't know the tactics in and out, but from what I watched from England in the Euros, they were so boring. This actually seems very innovative. Where positions are interchangeable and free-flowing football, loose and free kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Is it relationist principles?
here's the 5 with the progression, here's the 5 with the interchange. But even within this simple graph, you can see the vision starting to form, because that is Trent Alexander-Arnold getting his average contribution further forward than that of Cole Palmer, because that is what the interchanges and the rotations are supposed to do. Cole Palmer is a great attacking player who drops deep to great effect, and Trent Alexander-Arnold is a defender by trade who does his best work further up. And I really do feel I should plant my flag in the sand now, just so you'd know what my thought process is, rather than getting carried away and you're thinking I'm going mad, right? This is great. This is how modern, forward-thinking, innovative teams should play football. But if there's no end product with it, and you let Greece score 5 times and have one cleared off the line, it's really stupid. Yeah. Anyway, yes, the vision. This is Cole Palmer's heat map, so it's where he was getting all of his touches, and that is actually a pretty typical Cole Palmer heat map. He wants to be in this half space, but he's also very capable of dropping deeper to get on the ball to find space and create chances. You may have watched him in the Chelsea-Brighton game. He was so deep in that. This is his heat map from that match. I'm getting my mileage out of that graph. He kept making chances from here, as well as popping up to be on the end of them at the other end of the pitch. He loves to do that. And you will notice the Trent Alexander-Arnold heat map is remarkable.
I have a question, and it might be a very stupid question. There are no stupid questions. Let me know in the comments. This might be a stupid question. How do they track the heat maps? This is something that they do after the fact of the game? Somebody watches the film and tracks where players are? Is there some sort of technology that tracks it real time? How do they come up with the heat maps? I've always been curious about that.
Remarkably similar. Obviously, he was involved in the build-up and defending. That's why he's got lots of contributions here. But we know Trent Alexander-Arnold. He can get out wide and put crosses in. He can come into this area and put crosses in. He's great in this area of the pitch as well. And in the two of them, you've got players starting in different roles but are capable of doing things in the same areas, dovetailing, rotating perfectly. That's what this system is supposed to do. And in theory, that is a perfect way for this England side to play, given the players it has at its disposal.
But the game is not played in theory.
Just think about it for a second, right? Palmer, as we've mentioned, loves to be in this half space, but he can also play centrally as a 10, he can play wider as a right, and he loves to drop really deep. Jude Bellingham can play absolutely anywhere across the midfield. He loves to be in this left-hand half space, but he's also played as a centre-forward, sort of false 9 for Real Madrid, and he loves to drop out into that left-hand space as well. Phil Foden, admittedly much harder to see from his heat map because he's barely touched the ball, doesn't really have a position for Manchester City. He's been used wide right, wide left, he's been used number 10. There's loads of dynamism to his game. And then behind them, Trent Alexander-Arnold, as we've seen, also loves to get into this sort of area, but equally comfortable on the overlap, equally comfortable creating from deep. Rico Lewis makes these brilliant outside to in ball carries for Manchester City. He's great at progressing it into the final third. He doesn't even mind being the 10 or going into the box. And then Declan Rice, a genuine box threat for Arsenal, could play 6, can play 8. He's a great counter presser as well. There's so much that these players can do. And in that first half, I'm going to sound like I'm going mad here, in that first half, this will all get forgotten because of the result, but they were doing that, most of it. The interplay and the rotations between these players was genuinely really good. There was little flicks, there was clever tricks, there was 1-2s, there was great movement. They were going around Greece when they were compact, they were playing through them when they managed to stretch them out. It was really good, I thought, just no.
So then what happened? If the tactic is good and the execution is good and they're actually performing the tactic well, why is the result what it is?
End product. And again, really do feel the need to emphasize what my actual point here is, because I'm aware I might be sounding overly positive. You can do all this, it can be really good, but Greece put the ball in the net 5 times and had 1 cleared off the line. So something is catastrophically wrong with it. In fact, I'm going to show you something that is in theory so good by England, but still somehow gave them absolutely nothing, right? This was their build-up shape, right? This 2-3 with both the fullbacks moving into the middle. And the idea with doing this is that you actually make everything incredibly narrow. And because these players are all very good on the ball, that then forces Greece to go very narrow and compact as well. It forces them to press them in that small circle, and eventually you work it around, and that gives you access into either of the wide players. Perhaps they've got to drop a little bit deeper to get on it, but it allows you to bypass that entire Greek attack and midfield and get straight into one of your wide players. Now, obviously, stuff like this only works for so long. Like, teams will adapt as the game goes on, and the better teams adapt quickly. And Greece stopped letting England have those passes all the way into Gordon Saka. They shut that down. But almost as soon as they did, England automatically changed their build-up shape from that to this. Both Lewis and Alexander-Arnold started hugging the touchline, which created extra space in the middle, and Cole Palmer dropped all the way alongside Declan Rice to give them 2 in this area. Then Foden and Bellingham just basically went to a 2 up here. One of them could drop a little bit shorter, one of them could go in behind, and England moved to this sort of 2-4-4 shape. And all of a sudden, Greece, who had committed 5 players to this very narrow press, but was still trying to man-mark the 2 wide players,
Oh yeah, I can see that giving you trouble.
Found themselves outnumbered, completely overstretched, and when they did jump to accommodate, 2v2 in the worst possible area. Like, that's really good on-pitch tactical adjustment. But again, with absolutely no end product. Yes, King, give us nothing. Like, even England's press in that first half I thought was really good. They looked so much more full of energy and so much more aggression. Like, they turned that ball over in the first half. I lost count of how many times just by closing everything down and shutting off loads of different options. That's what we want to see from them. So that then begs the question, if what England were doing was incredibly clever but just not working, what was it Greece were doing? Was it something really simple but effective? Yes. Like, take a look at the situation.
That's how you beat clever. You beat it with simple.
Here, like, England's nominated 5 attackers are here, but because Greece are proving difficult to break down, here is the fullbacks and here is the sitting midfielder. It doesn't take a genius to work out that if you're
gonna get killed on the counter. Don't
play through this, and the turnover wherever it comes falls kindly for Greece, they are going to break up the other end of the pitch incredibly easily. Like, this is 3 minutes into the game. England have just lost the ball, not from a set piece, which would overcommit like the defenders. This is from open play, and that is Levi Colwill. And, you know, since you can count, you've probably noticed that is every single England outfield player, bar one, in this shot. John Stones is like 5 yards over here somewhere, one-on-one with one of the Greek attackers, and one pass later, they find themselves in this 2-on-2 breakaway. Like, even the one Colwill clears off the...
This feels like deja vu from a lot of the Tottenham losses. Which is we send so many people into the attack that you better have some very good defenders on that back line. If you're only gonna leave just a couple back there, I mean it's a huge weakness if you turn the ball over in open play.
The line, like, yes, that only comes about because Jordan Pickford has all the object permanence of a small dog. Like, if he can't see any Greek players, that must mean there aren't any Greek players. They don't exist. But it only comes about, you guessed it, long ball on the counter over the top. They isolate Stones one-on-one. And it's just a really, really simple equation. Like, you commit these 5 players to attacking, but you also have them rotate with the 3 behind them because Lewis wants to get in there and Rice can make runs into the box and Alexander-Arnold does this and does this and does this.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, everybody's out.
Look at that. Look. Like I said, this reminds me a lot of Spurs. We send so many players out here, which gives you a lot of beautiful attacking opportunities. And if you're proficient and you're able to work the ball around, great. But if you got these 2 back here, boy, that counter attack is going to be deadly.
A position when the ball gets turned over, and you've only got 2. And I mentioned before how good I thought England's press was, but even there, they overcommitted. There was once or twice when Greece could play through that press. Like, that is what's going to happen. Even the best teams in the world will inevitably get played through. Right. And because they'd overcommitted so many players to it, they just straight away found themselves in. And there's no way around this next point, right? There is something so ironic about that England result and that performance, because this 11 and the personnel in it, these are all the players that people were loudly saying behind you in pubs this summer that had to be in the team. That Gareth Southgate should be tried for treason for not picking. And
give the people what they asked for.
Anthony Gordon had to be in this team. Well, there he is, and Cole Palmer deserved to start. Well, there he is, and he had to find a way for Bellingham and Foden to be in the same team. Well, there they are, and Trent Alexander-Arnold should be a right back, not a central midfielder. Well, there he is. And I'm not even going to get into all the times you heard stuff like negative tactics, too defensive, afraid to have a go, because this could not be less afraid to have a go if it tried. You got 5 of the best, most creative attacking players this country has ever produced, backed up by 2 fullbacks who are not fullbacks, and a 6 who is a box-driving 8. And honestly, right, I'm going to get pelters for this, but I really admire him for playing this way. Like, it was a disaster, like, unreservedly, and he made it look like he hasn't got a clue what he's doing. And so many people's minds will be made up that he's too clever for this, or he hasn't got the right experience, or he's just an idiot, right, that I now don't think you could probably give him the England job. Like, you can't get beat off Greece at Wembley with this team,
right,
and then go on and manage the national team, in my opinion. But I think credit to him. He just chucked them all in there and said, well, go on then. You're all really good and really dynamic and can play different positions. Off you pop. Ultimately, what he has done is he has given this great nation exactly what it has been crying out for months, if not years, right? And now he will be hated and ridiculed for the rest of his career for that, and quite right too. Best nation on the planet. No.
I'm just playing.
Notes.
Just banter.
It's
just
I don't
banter.
know if it's obvious in this video, but watching that game last night may have sent me slightly mad. So if you have enjoyed this nonsensical rambling video, please do let us know in the comments below. Like,
it's funny, the seat that he was sitting in is, I think, the best way to view a football match. When I got to see the United States play Bolivia in the Copa America, I thought, from the vantage point that I was sitting in the stands, I was able to actually see the tactics at play a lot better, and I think that's the best way to view football. Hopefully, I'll be able to view some football from the stands a lot more in the coming months and years after I finish freaking school. Smash like on the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.